Breaking tonight, a major admission from the Obama administration over the controversial payout of $400 million to Iran to get hostages back in January. Here is video of what's purported to be the money wrapped in cellophane. Look at this. Isn't that incredible? Delivered in an unmarked cargo plane to Tehran. It was handed over at nearly the same moment. In fact, the reports are that they waited for this plane to arrive before they released 5 American hostages. Critics say that adds up to ransom, a charge President Obama flatly denied a couple of weeks ago, but one that the State Department, under some pretty strong questioning today, Rear Admiral John Kirby basically gave that idea confirmation.
In basic English, you're saying that you wouldn't give them the $400 million in cash until the prisoners were released, correct?
That's correct.
We do not pay ransom. We didn't here, and we won't in the future. Precisely because if we did, then we would start encouraging Americans to be targeted.
In moments, we'll be joined by Charles Krauthammer, but first, Chief Washington Correspondent James Rosen was in that briefing room today, and he has the latest from the State Department.
Martha, good evening. For weeks, the Obama administration has maintained that this secret payment in hard foreign currency of $400 million to Iran on the very same day when that country was setting free 5 American hostages was totally unrelated, that the two events proceeded along entirely separate diplomatic tracks. Now, prodded by a second bombshell story in the Wall Street Journal, aides to Secretary of State John Kerry admit that they withheld this payment, part of a $1.7 billion settlement with Iran over frozen assets, until the U.S. was certain our hostages were on their way home.
Obviously, when you're inside that 24-hour period and you already now have concerns about the end game in terms of getting your Americans out, it would have been foolish, imprudent, irresponsible for us not to try to maintain maximum leverage. If you're asking me, was there a connection in that regard at the end game, I'm not going to deny that.
But just 2 weeks ago, the State Department insisted that the resolution of the Iran nuclear talks, this prisoner release, and the resolution of this financial dispute all converged coincidentally.
There was no linkage between this settlement and the freeing of these Americans, but we saw an opportunity to resolve these 3 separate pieces concurrently that were being resolved at the same time.
Tonight, critics of the Obama administration say the Iranian regime will only be emboldened by the way this payment was structured and by the new disclosures from the State Department.
It was ransom. We now know it was ransom. And on top of that, it put more American lives at risk. And we now know that they transferred that $400 million into the hands of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is a terrorist organization.
And Chairman Royce told me today that the House Foreign Affairs Committee will be summoning administration witnesses to his panel for hearings on this subject, Martha.
All right, more to come. Here now, Charles Krauthammer, Fox News contributor and author of Things That